Hello everyone. So I'm coming on a video today. Usually, since this is my day off, I would do energy for the week. I'm not sure that I feel like it for no other reason than I woke up wanting to do something else. So I'm going to make some waffles for myself because after my spirulina smoothie, I'm still a little hungry. I did go and work out, so that has something to do with it. But again, just showing you the real of what life can be like when you prioritize yourself. So usually when I go to the grocery store, I stick to a set list of things to try, and it's within the same range of, oh, this ingredient I'm familiar with, this ingredient I'm familiar with. I've had no idea that they make protein mix for waffles and pancakes. So when I was down in the aisle to buy some of those things, I grabbed this, and it's been sitting in the pantry for a while. And I figured, why not just go ahead and try it out, see what it tastes like. So it says 1 cup mixed to 2/3 cup of water. I'm going to try to flatten it out as much as possible. Yeah, so that's about a cup. And then 2/3 cups of water. So I'm going to get some, actually from the fridge. And I'm going to check it out. I'm going to top it with some ingredients that I have, because again, I'm really disenchanted. This is going to sound like crazy, but my mom and I were talking about this. You know, like when, as women and as girls, we're often the ones who are thinking about food, groceries, helping in the kitchen, preparing meals. Obviously, my mom is older than I am. But we were talking about like just meal fatigue. I feel like I'm always coming up with, or having to come up with recipes of what to eat. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to eat because I don't even feel like thinking about what to eat. So from the looks of this batter, it looks like there's some pieces of nuts in it. I don't know if you can see. Oh, shucks. So I spilled a little bit. So discredit that. But yeah, so it has a little bit of like chopped up nuts in it. So yeah, like when I think about food stuff, I tell people like I'm at the place now where like my meals have become just sustenance, because I'm constantly thinking what to eat, what to make, what to buy, and I'll keep continuously talking about cognitive load because it's a very real thing. And one of the circumstances that I find myself in is being like, do you really want to keep living like this? Do you want to see how this went out? I like this, but it's a convenient tool. It's an aerosol spray. I know for sure that they have pump sprays that you can buy and fill with your own oil rather than keep buying containers of this stuff. I know because once upon a time I had one, and similarly after wear and tear it broke. So it's like, keep buying stuff, keep replacing stuff. Just it goes to show you like how much time it actually takes to do the dirty work of cooking. So I'm gonna improvise by pouring just regular vegetable oil and just basting a little waffle maker with the oil rather than using the spray. Because again, that stuff is just out of convenience, but once you experience it, it's like you don't want to not have that at your disposal. But in the area like where I'm at, where it's like Do you want to keep spending the money to get the stuff that you find convenient, or at some point you're just going to be like, use what you have? Because again, with the cost of everything rising, do you feel like spending the gas, the time, or the money to have it delivered at a premium, or go out in the world with people with all sorts of energies and intermingle with folks? I laugh because I was on YouTube yesterday watching a video. A content creator, I don't even know the guy, I'm not familiar with his work, but again, just as some of the searches that I come about, the YouTube algorithm will give me people's content that's similar. So this guy was talking about some sort of circumstance that was going on at Starbucks where people were fighting over some glass bear cups. And again, I don't really keep up with the trends of consumerism like that anymore, because I pretty much have kind of lived the past year with my set interests. And so the things that I buy is because I actually really like it, and not necessarily because someone told me it was something cool. So I'm just adding a little bit of water because it looked really thick, even though I had measured it out to be 1. So I'm gonna let this, and I can smell like the protein coming from these, and that's okay, because again, right now, just focused on making a quick dish. But usually when I go to the grocery store, I tend to go up and down every aisle looking at, oh, what's this? Let me try this. Let me try that. And so I have tons of ingredients that I need to use. And because again, some of this stuff is about to expire, already expired, I'm like, let me just use what I have, as much of what I have, before I go buy more stuff to experiment. Because outside of the things that I can't make, like eggs, so you'll see I have my cacao nibs grinded up. I'm going to top the waffles with that, some confectioner's sugar, a little bit of cinnamon. I'm going to use my sweetener to be hot honey, just because I have regular honey, I have hot honey. There's like a corner of maple syrup left. So that's Hubby's, so I'm not going to use that out, but I am going to just whip up these little waffles, see how they come out. And again, it's because I bought this. So the lesson in this, and I'll go back to the Starbucks bit in a second, was that sometimes I'll intend to be a little bit daring, and then when my schedule was so filled with, you know, working, large social life, things like that, I wasn't always mindful of how much I was circulating for groceries. So when I looked again at my expenditures, I'm like, I'm spending all this money on food stuff, I'm still going out to eat, stuff is going bad. I need to get a handle on where most of my waste is coming from, and that is coming from the kitchen. Because again, with the best intentions, I'm buying stuff, intending, and even more so, like sometimes when you see a recipe and you're like, I want to try it, you'll buy stuff, and then you have this whole load of things. So use that to compound over time, and you'll see like why I'm saying the things that I'm saying. So I went through the pantry, looked at what was expired, tossed that. So I had a lot of flowers that I got rid of. Same thing with herbs, you know, teas. I'm really just trying to use what I have, because again, I see the allure, I love shopping. And my point about the gentleman whose content came across my feed was that he was saying that, like, the humans that were out there fighting each other over these Starbucks glass cups, he's like, this is where we devolved to as a civilization, where there's nothing better to do with their time than to go and fight each other over spending money over glass containers. And again, I found it as comic relief because it made me think about, the years of Black Friday sales where we would see the advertisements and then we'll see the news report, here's this doorbuster deal, etc. And then we'd see on the news a few days later the footage of people having stampedes, running in stores, fighting each other, trying to be the first person to get the big TV or the toy or whatever. And I remember that back from even when I was a kid. And so there's something about like our species in and of itself that's like super competitive. It's like when it comes to us, ourselves versus others, like humanity goes out the window. So you compound that by the stress of the holidays, and you can see where people can start to get really nasty with one another. So in general, I tend to try to not have to go out and interact with humans in stores unless I absolutely have to. And so I'm constantly looking through different apps trying to figure out if it's worth me paying the convenience fee or the delivery fee, or if I'm going to just go and suck it up, go into the store and just do it myself. But before I get there, I'm like, we have a house full of stuff. It may not necessarily be the stuff that I'm craving, but it's in here, right? And so again, that goes back to like what I talked about as far as like the privilege that humans have, where it's like we don't realize how with a little bit of creativity we can create everything. So another idea that I had was I had some hot chocolate, and then I was like, ooh, but I really want some with peppermint. And then I was like, oh, but you have peppermint essential oil. But they tell you that peppermint essential oil is not for digestion, at least not that type, right? So then I'm like, oh, well, what else can I have that gives it that taste? Oh, we have some fresh mint in the fridge. There's a solution. Also, I was like, oh, there are chocolate chip cookies in the pantry. I have all the ingredients to make chocolate chip cookies from scratch, including the salt to put on the top, including eggs. So again, sometimes for women in particular, I'll speak for myself, sometimes I just need like the mental space to really think about what I can use rather than just having a conniption because it's like something that isn't prepackaged and convenient and readily available. And I think when I look at the state of the economy, like I said, I use YouTube as the main platform that I'm on. I'm no longer on LinkedIn. I'm no longer on Instagram. I'm no longer on Facebook. And that's because from the time that I was in college, and I graduated college in 2007, it's 2025. I've had a Facebook account since around 2004-ish. You can understand why like I choose not to engage with social media in the ways that I once did, because I kind of grew up with those things and constantly being surveilled. And because I had a work study program when I was in undergrad as a resident assistant, I was also privy to how law enforcement was able to monitor people, because at that time Facebook was still just university only. I was very aware of how law enforcement used it to solve crimes, right? So it kind of tempered my postings. It kind of tempered me being aware of my brand, what I post, how I relate, who I connect with, what I post, all those things. Because again, I was very much aware that there are people watching all the time. And you would be surprised at some of the stuff that people will post. Like they would, and this is when I, again, in undergrad, so people would post guns, they would post drugs, they would post alcohol. And again, most people know that people are engaging in these things, but people were actually posting it, and then they would wonder why the cops would show up at their door, knowing where certain things were. So I say all that to say, my perspective on a lot of this stuff is very informed by the real nature of content having consequences. And when I look at, again, how humans have if I was to use that guy's perspective of de-evolving, like this is how we're cementing our legacy as humans. This is how we're going to be remembered, just by some of the things that we're doing, right? Because the cameras are always there. We have now invited 24/7 surveillance into every aspect of our life. So when it comes to food, I will keep it to the kitchen and things of that nature, because again, the career steps that I've had, I'm very much aware of how incredibly instant certain insights in aggregate can be, how powerful that information is, and how it's leveraged depending on whose hands it's in. By the time I found myself working with solving real life issues, again, we're trying to figure out how to best use that information to make informed decisions for the greatest amount of people involved. And it matured me, and it further scares me, right? Because at least there was like a code of ethics that some people have where it's like, well, I wouldn't do that. Well, again, the information in the wrong hands, you never know what people would do, especially when big dollars are involved. So again, on that particular topic about, like the de-evolution of humanity, it's really a matter of like what we choose to put our energy in. I could be out there shopping, doing all sorts of craziness, but I choose not to. And I'll give you a perfect example of, since we're nearing up into what the Americans consider Thanksgiving, I'll tell you, like, I've tried to stop celebrating Thanksgiving once I started learning more about Native American history and culture, and how it really is, in a lot of ways, the celebration of a genocide of a people. And I no longer feel comfortable like making it seem like it's just this whole, oh, we have so much to be thankful for, and again, completely whitewashing an atrocious point in human civilization just for the sake of consumerism, right? Where it's like, you can be thankful and happy for your family all year. You don't have to wait until this point in time to do so, right? Some people have taken the liberty of creating like Friendsgivings and things of that nature. Again, to each their own. I have tried my best to stay away from participating in a lot of manufactured holidays, not because I'm a hater or anything like that, but it's because I wanted to intentionally build my life to like have a lot of that energy all throughout the year, right? If I love my friends, if I'm thinking about them, I'll buy them something. I might buy it and then wait for their birthday. I might buy it and then wait for the holidays or something like that, right? I started writing handwritten notes again, right? I went through the intentionality of ordering customized stationery for both myself and me and my husband, because I remember growing up when it's like you would handwrite thank you cards after you received a gift or someone did something kind to you. And the older I get, the more I realize those things have gone out the window, right? And I'm like, but there was so much value in that, right? Like, yes, it takes money to go and have those things customized and done, right? And so I work with a stationery. I got to pick the paperweight. I got to pick the size. I got to pick the embossing. It was very personal, right? So it's personal to me. I write it. And there are times where it's like I sometimes feel bad because I'm like, most people are used to seeing a Hallmark emblem on the back of their card or this fun, beautiful, colorful picture or whatever. And it's like, but no, I'm like intentionally trying to be old-fashioned, if you will, because there was something beautiful about receiving, hey, these are my thoughts. Here's why I appreciate you. Here's why I think you're kind. Here's what I want to say to you on your birthday, right? And again, just trying to stay in my own lane because that's what I appreciate. So I don't intend to tell other people how to live or what they should and shouldn't be doing, but for me, that's what's working. Let's see how my little waffles are doing. Oh no, they're ripped. It's stuck to the top. That's fine, but they're mostly cooked. Let me get a utensil. And I don't use this waffle maker as much as I used to. Like, there was a time where I hosted a lot more But even that, so it's, again, it's cooked thoroughly, that's fine. But I didn't grease it enough probably. But they're cooked, so they're still edible. And like I said, I just really want to see what it tastes like. I could probably spray a little bit of water on it and it soften right up. But there's so much beauty just as a woman that's coming of age and it's like hitting all these life stones where it's like, at some point I realized, you know, I would go into Marshall's, TJ Maxx, all the stores, the home goods stores, and I would buy seasonal decor and all that other stuff. And again, just over time accumulating that stuff and then still having like a finite amount of space. Then I became overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I had to keep up. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna keep it stored. I'm gonna put it here. When it's time to pull it down for the season, I can pull it down and then, you know, decorate this, and that. And it's all fun and good. I think, like I said, spent a couple of years participating in holidays, especially as a homeowner, and had a lot of fun, especially for Christmas, right? So I had some amazing holiday photos with family where like we did an ugly Christmas sweater party, and you know, it was fun to see everybody dressed up in those things. And then one year I traveled to the African continent, and it was for work, and it was around Thanksgiving time. And during that time, there were a couple of things that happened on the continent that scared me, and rightfully so, right? Because there were, again, just, you're in a country where anything can happen at a moment's notice. And because I was working for a non-governmental organization, like there were certain security measures that had to be taken. I had to move very discreetly, even when I was with staff. So it was like there was a real concern because sometimes, I probably won't eat all three. Sometimes, yeah, I'll do 1.5. Sometimes aid workers are held for ransom, and insurance money. So there was like a very real concern about like me being there and if I would be okay. I was for the most part. There was like a carjacking that happened in front of our vehicle that scared me and petrified me, seeing and being intimidated by like the stuff that I had with me that was like for my colleagues, you know, work papers, stuff like that. It was intimidating and it was scary. And then by the time I came back home, of course I had a wonderful time. Like there was so much beauty of like actually being there. Like once I actually got there, got to spend time with my colleagues, got to meet some of the project participants, got to actually like be in the parts of Nigeria where there isn't cell service and it's nothing but nature. And so there was nothing stopping like me from connecting with the land. And it just was a wonderful experience. So by the time I came back home, it was around Thanksgiving. And I go back to the grocery store because it's like, oh, we got to pick up a couple things for Thanksgiving. And I see the way, again, humans in America are acting. And I was completely disenchanted and disillusioned by all of this. Because I was like, you know what? These people are animals. And I'm ashamed of them. So again, by the time, so let me get this out of your way so you see. I have my little loaded protein waffles. But yeah, so by the time I came back, again, grocery store, seeing people acting stupid and have attitudes about groceries on a holiday that's celebrating genocide, I was like, I'm done. I'm good. Now, I was very grateful for a few things. That particular year, I was grateful that I made it back home safely. I was grateful that I got to at least see my family because, again, some of the things that happened while I was there were kind of just humbling, right? Like, you realize that there are so many people in this world that do so much with so far less than what we have and what we feel like we need to have in order to be successful or to be prosperous, etc. Those were some of the happiest people I had ever met, right? And they were dealing with all sorts of situations, but it was the conditions of the human spirit that made the situations bearable, right? So it's like going there to the health facilities and talking to the moms whose children, they're trying to make sure that their children will be okay, right? Like making sure that they have healthy food, healthy access to water, all those little things. And like really seeing like this organization that I worked for, they didn't have a lot of funding. So the grants that they receive, like they are stretching every nickel to make sure that they can positively impact the lives of so many with what they have, right? And oftentimes the people who work in the country offices, they're not getting paid a lot of money, right? But they go in, they show up every day regardless of what's happening because the people are relying on them. And so the more time that I spent with them, it's like every artificial um, creation that America had kind of indoctrinated me into, like that went away. Like I was so happy. I felt like my work was actually worth something, if you will. And again, even with the threats, the real threats of like danger and harm that were still there, it was still a wonderful, beautiful opportunity. I got to see young girls, young teen girls who were like, we got to dance and just dance to music. Like we got to talk about music. We got to interact with one another. And they're like, oh, where are you from? You're black? It was really good. And I had my natural hair at the time. So they saw me. Like I wasn't glammed up. I didn't have makeup on or anything like that. And I had on my sneakers, my like just regular like leisure wear clothes, and I'm there with them dancing, having a good time. Like we're talking about the work, we're talking about the project launch, all sorts of things, but I was there immersed in the different cultures, right? I got to eat food there. I got to walk around, talk to people, talk to artists, and it just, the way that it fed my soul was unlike anything that like you could actually buy. And so again, by the time I came back home, I was really grateful. I was still processing the variety of experiences that I had, including a rolling blackout, because again, not everybody has 24/7 electricity and power. So that was something, it's like it happened at nighttime. And I was like, oh, well, it's a good thing it's nighttime because I should probably just go to sleep then. But again, by the time I came back here to America, I was like, we are so spoiled and we don't even realize it. Like we complain about the dumbest shit. And this is not to take away from the actual ills that go on in America, like people who don't have access to clean water here in America, people who don't know how they're going to have a next meal, all of those things. But it really grounded and centered me in a different reality, in a different humility, and understanding the value of my time, my money, and my energy. And so again, that's the reason why I'm as chill as I am on a lot of this stuff, because I remember what it was like to be so anxious, to not to like do the craziest stuff, to be able to afford certain things, just to, okay, Christmas is coming up. Okay, this is coming up. Okay, this is coming up. This is coming up. And so now where I'm at, it's like, that's why I said like I'm still repairing some of the decisions that I made, because it's not worth it. It's just stuff. Like after a while you realize, okay, every calendar year you're going to get an opportunity to celebrate Christmas. Every calendar year you're going to get an opportunity to celebrate your birthday. Every calendar year you're going to get an opportunity to do this, do that, do that. So anchoring into some of that more long term and saying, okay, give yourself time. Like really plan out the life that you want with the expectation that you're going to be around long enough to enjoy that. But even more so, like just enjoy the now. So I'm going to take a bite of my little waffle. I like it. I like it. Like I said, I didn't know how the protein mix was going to taste, but it's flavorful. And of course my little cacao, hot honey, confectioner sugar, cinnamon, and butter, and blueberries help, but it's delicious and it's filling. So I'll end this video by saying this: regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your why, of what you're celebrating or whatever, live your life, but be in a village with people who have similar values to you. I have so much to be grateful for as it is. I could hurry myself through this life. I could hurry myself through this day. And I can overwhelm myself with all these things that I feel like I'm supposed to do in order to keep up with society or what have you. I chose to tune certain things out because what matters to me is what is present. And right now that's like feeding myself, doing a little bit of computer work, uploading this video. Like I said, I've really been trying to not have to edit anything, because that's just one more thing on my to-do list, where it's like I've been writing down notes, journals, notebooks full of things that I want to do with my life, because again, some of the experiences that I've had throughout my life have kind of ushered me into wisdom of like, tomorrow's not promised, live each day fully. What are you going to do? And so get into a place where I'm like, oh, okay, the world isn't ending. I'm trying to just like breathe and take stock of everything that I've accumulated, seeing what gets to stay, what I can actually be done with, and, you know, getting out of the energy or the need of feeling like I have to compete or prove myself or even answer to anyone else other than who I have made legal commitments to, right? At some point you gotta pick what it is and know that there's always going to be something out there that you could participate in, always going to be something more, always going to be something different. But with the holiday seasons, and again, even me stating that this is not a jovial time for everyone, right? Some people honor their ancestors during that time. Some people still have food, you know, the harvest of plenty or the horn of plenty. Some people, every person is different. So don't just be out here wild in the world expecting that like you're going to be met with kindness and graciousness. Everybody is going through something. Like I said, I'm mindful that people have stressors, don't have healthy outlets for that energy. I'm someone who has spent lots of time and money to center myself, to calm myself, to be at one with all that is. So I don't want anybody to take that from me. And so I am very intentional about how I move, how I navigate through the world, and how I show up in society. And again, if you're going to participate in anything, I wish you kindness and love with your family and those that matter to you, because even when I say family, with the work that I do in wellness and, like I said, in communications, I know that not everybody has had a healthy family experience, so even that can be traumatizing for some people. So safety, clean water, meal for today. Just focus on the basics, and I wish you so much ease in your day. Take care.